Can you start then by telling me about the inspiration behind Grit and Grace Adventures and then what makes your travel experiences unique for women?
Absolutely. So the inspiration behind Grit and Grace Adventures came from actually my stores, Grit and Grace Clothing, over the last few years and connecting and speaking with like-minded women who are looking for friendship, um, first off, and then deep and meaningful connections and an opportunity to do that outside, a little bit outside of their comfort zones. Previous to opening Grit and Grace Clothing, I did have a travel company where I was taking women all over the world. And because of COVID, it shut down. And then opening a store, that all went onto the back burner. But more and more, as I was connecting with women in my stores and having these wonderful conversations, I felt and was hearing this burning desire to travel with other women and to make those friendships and to make those connections whilst traveling. So, in all of those conversations, and after about 3.5, almost 4 years, I thought it's time to relaunch my retreats and rebrand it as Grit and Grace Adventures. I don't like to call them retreats anymore. I feel like in the retreats, there's a personal growth workshop element. It can get kind of heavy. I like to keep things light. And I feel like that personal growth happens very organically as we're venturing into these unknowns. We're getting a little bit out of our comfort zones. And those meaningful conversations happen while we're caravanning in an SUV across the Atlas Mountains or sitting on top of a sand dune watching the sunset in the Sahara Desert, or we're on safari watching elephants saunter by. In those deep, meaningful moments where we're connecting with the world around us, we're also very much connecting with each other. So I feel like that transformation happens very organically in those moments.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the adventures you have coming up. You have a couple imminently and some planned out further down the road. And these are not, I just want to emphasize, these are not your typical like all-inclusive sit on your butt
No.
escapes.
No,
So
absolutely
what are some of
not.
the adventures coming up?
Yeah, so first I'm launching with Morocco, which is where I ended off pre-COVID. That was one of the last trips I did, and it's a pretty epic overland experience where we caravan along the old Silk Route through the Moroccan cities and countryside, through the Atlas Mountains into the Sahara Desert. We do this in luxury SUVs. It's very comfortable. I feel like when we get to a certain age, while we want to adventure and be outside of our comfort zones, we also want to be comfortable while we're outside of our comfort zone. So the accommodations are always wonderful. The transportation is always top notch. So we are in luxury SUVs, but we are caravanning across the country. There's a huge, very important to me is cultural immersion. So we're not going to your typical hot spots along the route. We're really stepping outside of those hot spots and getting into really connecting with the locals, really finding out what that culture is all about. On the Morocco trip, for example, we have tea with a traditional Berber family in the middle of the Sahara Desert, which is incredible. So we go into their huts and we sit on the dirt and we have tea with them. We learn how to make food the traditional way that the Berbers do over an open fire in the oasis in the middle of the desert. We go to a very traditional carpet weaving place. So we're really outside of those hot spots, tourist points, and really getting into the culture. So we're launching with Morocco. That's in February. After that is Nepal. So we'll be trekking through the Annapurna circuit. I myself did the Everest base camp trek, and it was a life-changing soul experience to be putting one foot in front of the other through the Himalayas in that crisp, fresh air. So I want to bring women on to experience that same moment that I had of silence, of connection, of putting one foot in front of the other through Nepal. So we'll be doing the Annapurna trek there. Again, lots of cultural immersion. So we'll be staying in traditional tea houses. We'll be mingling with the locals. And then after that, we're looking at Greece in September. And that will be, again, not your typical islands. We're going to the Mamma Mia Islands, which are the lesser known, but where the movie was filmed. And then after that, Kenya. And Kenya will be a safari/beach adventure. So we'll do half of the trip will be on safari and half of the trip will be on the coast. That's the start.
You talked a little bit about, how as we get older, we still don't want to give up that comfort.
Yeah, we've earned it.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. So, but how do you balance, that those elements of adventure and then comfort?
So for Morocco, for example, depending on the time of year that we go, but it can get hot. So, you're out in the Sahara and you're having tea in this like dusty tent and you're sweaty and, even climbing to the top of the highest sand dune, it's not easy. but it's worth it when you get up there to watch the sunset for sure. And you're huffing and you're puffing, and, and even just cultural immersion. Like sometimes Morocco is so, I love Morocco because it's so different. You really feel like you've stepped into another world when you go to Morocco. It's a different culture, it's a different religion, the colors, the spices, the smells, like all of that. You're very much out of your comfort zone in that everything's just so different. But when you go to sleep at night, your room is air conditioned, your sheets are very clean. And, I've done the backpacking, thing. And, when I first started my retreats, they were very price sensitive and they were targeting that price sensitive market. But I believe we've earned the right to nice sheets and air conditioning at the end of our days, and to wash off that dust, so to speak, and sit down and have a nice meal in a lovely dress.
Yeah. What advice would you give to women who are listening to this and are considering joining one of your adventures, but might be hesitant or new to this type of travel?
There's two ways to look at it, because I think a lot of women are afraid to travel, especially to places like Morocco or Nepal, where the culture is so different from ours, and specifically doing it alone. So this is a great opportunity where you're never alone. I am with you every step of the way. My groups are small, so I cap at 10. There's never more than 10 women on our trips. And I believe that creates a great opportunity for very meaningful conversations and to connect with each other, and the camaraderie that's formed in that small group size. So you're always with somebody. You're never alone, but you will be going on your own sort of soul journey. So I think the aspect of group travel from that aspect is a really great, safe way for women to start that solo travel or that solo expedition experience.
And I think something that we're talking about a lot more and more in travel and tourism is sort of sustainability and responsible tourism. How much of that do you take into account as you're planning your trips?
Every single one of my trips, there's an element where we're giving back to the community in some shape or form, whether we're volunteering at an orphanage, or we're going in and helping feed students. With the Morocco, for example, or proceeds of the trip will go to a cause. So Morocco, for example, some of the proceeds are going to a company called Education for All, and they work with young girls in rural Moroccan areas to bring them in to educate them and go to school. And they were also affected by the earthquake, so that money will help go rebuild their dorm rooms for the girls. So I always try to give back to the communities that we're participating in.
Okay. So what's next then? You've mentioned 4 great destinations. Do you have others that you're like dream destinations that you're planning even maybe for yourself?
Truthfully, Jordan, which unfortunately, because of the current situation, we've had to put on hold, but that is high on my list. And also with the Grit and Grace Adventures, I'm hoping to get out of those typical spots. So Kazakhstan is actually on the list. Turkey is on the list. Some of them right now, obviously, we're not going to travel to, but hopefully in the future we can. Where else? I'm looking into Central and South America right now. So I'm working with some DMCs to plan some Peruvian trips. Honduras, Rotan would be fun. I've got a long list. The world is a big, wonderful place.
Well, then people are going to have to keep up with you and what you're planning. So where is the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. They can check out the website. It's gritandgraceadventures.com. The Instagram is the same, at Grit and Grace Adventures. And they can email me anytime at info@gritandgraceadventures.com.
And just out of curiosity, how many spots do you have left on that Morocco trip for, if anybody wants to get in?
4.
4 spaces left. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. And the first 6 went in 2 weeks. So I anticipate we'll be sold out very quickly. So that's exciting.
All right. Incredible. Penny, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you.